Hey guys, what's going on? Derek James here with GovKid Method, and we are joined here again today by our avatar Sarah, who is the owner of ABC Construction Company. And in today's video, we're going to be walking through the 4 stages of a bid, primarily if you're looking at beta.sam.gov opportunities, which is what I've been teaching in all my videos. It's very important that you understand the 4 stages of a bid, and a lot of you may not even know that there are 4 stages. What I'm seeing a lot of, and what's really prompting me to do this video, is that people are, maybe running some searches in beta.sam and they're looking at all the search results and they're asking me, hey, is this one late, or do I respond to this, or what do I do? Well, the reason I'm doing this video is because if you understood the 4 stages, that you probably wouldn't have those types of questions. So every opportunity in your search results in beta.sam will have a different stage of a bid that it's in. And each stage, a source of sought, a pre-solicitation, a solicitation, and award, have different requirements. So you can't just look at them, and say an opportunity is an opportunity is an opportunity in your search results. A source of sought requires something different than a solicitation, and a pre-solicitation is very different than an award. So you have to, when you look at an opportunity, the very first thing you should be asking yourself is, what stage of the bid is this opportunity in that I'm looking at? And if you're not able to do that, I guarantee you will be able to do that easily by the end of this video. Maybe some of you will remember the middleman strategy video that I did that featured Sarah in this relationship to a contracting officer and a subcontractor. So in today's video, I'm also going to be walking you through each of the stages with Sarah in a layout just like this. And then after all that's done, it's only going to take a few minutes. I'm actually going to take you over to beta.sam.gov, and I'm going to show you how to pull up the different stages: a source of sought, a pre-sol, a solicitation, and an award, so that you could run searches in beta.sam based on which stage you want to search for. Do you want to do market research? Do you want to check for awards that were recently awarded? Do you want to look at bids that are real and live right now? Those are all very different searches, and those go right along with the different stages of a bid. So without any further delay or build up, let's get into it. Here we find ourselves at stage 1. Stage 1 is called the sources sought. As you can see in the picture to the left, we have the contracting officer asking Sarah, are you interested in this requirement? And Sarah is responding saying, sure. What is this stage? It's actually the market research for a possible future bid. So no, you cannot win a contract by responding to this. If you respond to a source of sought, what you're doing is really marketing your company. And you're also giving your information to the contracting officer to help him or her shape the procurement strategy for the bid that's going to be coming in the future. The reason contracting does this is because they don't just come out, wham, here's a bid, respond to it, everybody, because they might not get any responses. So they do this build-up process. And I actually did a video based on this whole launching process, which is called the secret movie launching formula that contracting officers use to make sure there is enough interest in a bid. So they go through each of these different 4 stages all the way up to awarding the bid to make sure that they have adequate number of vendors and to make sure that they've done enough market research to use the best and most efficient type of procurement strategy possible based on the market research that they receive. That's why it's so important for you to respond to the market research in an opportunity that you might be interested in. Typically, if you are interested in responding, you just need to send them a tailored capability statement, as well as answer any questions, and it might be in the form of a white paper. It really just depends. Every opportunity is different, so you have to truly read and see what the contracting officer is requesting from you, and then just give them that in an email. You want to put your response together in an email and a separate attachment, upload that to your email and then send it off to the contracting officer by the due date for the source of sought. So again, stage 1 is all about, the contracting officer trying to get, the warm and fuzzy feeling about your company. You don't want to just send them generic, basic information. You always want to tailor it and customize it to see if they should even consider you in helping them shape this requirement, as well as getting to know your company better in the future, since this is a form of marketing. And lastly, you should only respond to those sources sought that you intend to bid on in the future requirement when the bid actually comes out in stage 3 of this process. Don't just respond to the market research and then ghost the contracting officer, because they may really like your response and say, okay, awesome, we're definitely going to consider them for when the bid comes out. If they're a woman-owned small business, we're going to set this aside for woman-owned small businesses. Maybe it's the rule of 2, or maybe there's just not enough, satisfactory vendors, and you are satisfactory. And they're like, we really want to work with this company, so we're going to shape this to be in something that's aligned with their company's ability to respond to this. And then when they release the bid and then you don't respond to it, they're like, what the heck? That's the whole point of doing the market research. And then you didn't respond to the bid. If you're familiar at all with statistics, that really skews the data when you're comparing the market research to the bid responses, because you threw something in, but you were not statistically significant in terms of being a company that followed through the entire process. So only respond to market research if you intend to bid on the requirement. Okay, the second stage is the pre-solicitation. Here we have the contracting officer saying, Sarah, just for your information, here is the information received from our market research, and we're giving you some bullet points in this pre-solicitation notice just so you can review and get ready for when the bid comes out in the future. Here we have Sarah saying thank you, basically saying, I'll watch for it, I'll review the details. No response is required typically in a pre-solicitation, unless it's some rogue pre-solicitation and they're specifically asking for, maybe information about, attending a site visit or something like that. So again, a pre-sol is the results from the sources sought market research. The sources sought will have a response deadline. And then after that deadline due date, they'll all go in a big room, the contracting officers, the small business liaison. They'll read through all the market research that they received, capability statements, and that white paper answering some questions, like I mentioned. And they're going to say, okay, here's the serious companies, and here's the companies that, maybe they didn't provide us tailored information. They're not serious. They shouldn't be heavily weighted in doing this market research. Then they say, okay, this is what we have to work with. What are the small business goals for our office? And then what are the small business responses we have? Then they're going to create a procurement strategy that makes the most sense, that's mutually beneficial. And then once they've done that, they're going to let you know what the decision was and what the path forward is in a pre-solicitation. So it's basically letting you know how things are going to be for when the bid comes out. So with that being said, no response is required. This is a FYI for your information. You definitely still want to watch for it and read the information, but there's nothing really for you to do unless they tell you. The pre-solicitation may let you know about things, like I said, like a site visit. It's going to let you know when the solicitation is going to be released in the future, so you can start maybe getting some things in motion. You can mark it on your calendars. And like I said, they're also going to let you know if there's going to be a set aside. So, if it was a bunch of woman-owned small businesses that responded to the sources sought, they may decide to go a woman-owned small business set aside on this, which means when the bid comes out, only those WOSB businesses will be able to compete and win the contract for this bid. But say if those woman-owned small businesses didn't respond in that sources sought stage, they may say, okay, well, we're just going to open this up to a total small business set aside. Anybody who's a small business can respond to this. Or if there's just not enough small businesses responding, they may do a full and open competition, which means anybody can compete on this, up to Microsoft or Boeing, these massively large companies. They'll even be able to bid on it, and then you're not going to be able to compete with them. So all reasons why it's so important to get in on stage 1 and respond, so you can help shape that requirement, and they know that your company exists. And if you give them a tailored, customized response, they're going to see you as a serious player in the particular industry that the bid is in. So then once you respond, and then once the pre-solicitation is issued, you can review that, and then you can start to get your ducks in a row in terms of what is your strategy going to be to responding to this bid, maybe getting some relationships lined up if you're going to get pricing and quotes, and anything else you may need to do in terms of formulating your calendar and maybe a bid timeline, stuff like that, all in anticipation of stage 3, the next stage, which is the formal solicitation. Here we go. We've got stage 3. This is the solicitation. This is kind of what everybody looks for and refers to, even though, as you can see, every stage is not the solicitation. Every stage is not a bid. you can't win a contract off of any of these stages. Stage 3 is the only stage you could actually respond to and win a contract award. So what is it? It's either going to be a request for proposal or a request for quote, typically. So that's an RFP or an RFQ. An RFP, typically they want a proposal, answering questions, writing to a technical approach, definitely talking about your past performance. And they're also going to want your pricing. These RFP responses oftentimes are separated into different volumes, like volume 1, 2, and 3, all separate attachments when you're putting your response together. And these proposal responses can typically be anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 or 30 pages long. It really depends on what it is you're responding to, how big the requirement is. And typically the larger it is in the dollar value, the more specific they're going to want you to write and explain to certain areas in your technical approach. And typically that just makes the page count be longer and longer. If you're looking at an RFQ, which is a request for quote, typically they're going to be focused on the price. They're going to want to maybe see that you have some experience, maybe provide some information to answer some questions again, or provide some basic type management approach or technical approach just to see that you're satisfactory, that you can perform on the requirement. And then once they've found you to be, technically acceptable or satisfactory, then they're really going to look at your price, because maybe this requirement is a commodity requirement, maybe it's a product, or maybe it's something that they're just very sure that's going to be apples to apples across the board with all vendors responding to it. And that's the case, they're probably going to be looking to award, like a lowest price, technically acceptable. So the majority of your response is going to be focused on your price. And like I said, they may have a short write-up that they want you to include, maybe some management approach or quality control plans, some basic type templates like that. And then they're going to look at your price. So that's really the difference between an RFP and an RFQ, but you're not going to see that in beta.sam. What you're going to see is a solicitation, and you're going to kind of have to gauge for yourself as you read through it if this is going to be a request for proposal or if it's going to be focused on the quote. And you can do that by looking at the instruction to offerers to assemble your bid. So when you're reading through some of the solicitation documents, you could try to do a Control F, Control Find, and look for instruction to offerers. That's what's going to tell you exactly what they want you to include in your proposal response. It's going to give you information, and this is really going to tell you, what you need to put together in your proposal. And if you're unable to respond to it, it's going to be because you're not able to provide this information that they're including in the instruction to offerers. So you definitely want to find that section really quickly. And that's not something that they include in a pre-solicitation or a source of sought. That's only included in a solicitation because it's now an actual bid. So as we can see illustrated in the picture here, we have the contracting officer saying, okay, Sarah, here's the bid, it's up, respond by such and such date, we'll await your proposal response. And then Sarah is rolling up her sleeves, she's getting to work. She's saying, I'm on it, working on her proposal response, and she's going to get that emailed over to the contracting officer by or before that deadline. Stage number 4, the final stage, as you guessed it, is the government contract award. This is a notice of the company that won, as well as the dollar value that was actually awarded for, so that you can see kind of where you stood compared to your competition. Now, if you do win, they're going to be trying to get a hold of you. They're going to shoot you an email. They're going to be calling you. They may even do that before they officially post it on beta.sam that it was awarded. Oftentimes, you're the first one to find out, and then they make it public. So don't worry about trying to find out if you won or not. They're going to let you know. But then if you don't win, you're probably not going to hear from them directly. Okay? There's just not enough time in the day to reach out to everybody. Sometimes they're nice and they will send you a follow-up to your response saying thanks for your response. This was awarded to somebody else. Check the beta.sam listing for the award details. And since you probably will be losing more than you're winning, I recommend you implement the strategy. It's a piece of low-hanging fruit that most people don't do, but I highly encourage it. So once you find out you were not the winning bidder, within a few days, within 72 hours, you need to shoot the contracting officer an email requesting what's called a proposal debrief. Now, if you do that, they're going to be somewhat obligated to walk you through a proposal debrief, because this is actually something that's written into the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and this is to help contractors improve on their proposals. So they will spend a few minutes with you on the phone and kind of walk you through your proposal. They'll let you know about your inadequacies. They'll tell you what you did a good job on. So that way for your next bid, you can perform even better and you can make your proposal beefier, or you can do a better job at responding to certain areas that they required. And this really ties into marketing, because if you're sticking with the same target agencies, you're responding to the same contracting officers, and you do this with them multiple times, they're going to get to know you and they're going to get to see that you're, competing for their business and you're doing all the right things and you're getting better and better. And if you do this over multiple bids, over the course of a year, and you're getting in front of them again and again, it's going to get harder and harder for them to not award you a contract. And that's just because you keep getting better and better with your proposals, and they're getting to see you, they're getting to trust that, hey, you're not just some fly-by-night company that opened up and 6 months later you're gone. You're still here, you're still bidding, you're doing everything they want you to do. If you do that, I guarantee you will win a contract in your due time. So this is stage 4, this is the award stage. It's a very exciting time. It's what this entire 4 stages have been leading up to. And then once you win the award, you typically have a start of work meeting, and then you switch over to actually performing on the contract. So I hope I've illustrated and painted a much more clear and crystal picture of the 4 stages of a procurement bid. And maybe you didn't even know this existed. If that's the case, you probably have a lot of information right now. If you knew a little bit of this, but you had some questions, I hope this helps to clarify those. You should hopefully already be connecting the dots of why it's so important to know what these 4 stages are when you're looking at those search results for opportunities in beta.sam. Because if you don't know if you're looking at a pre-solicitation or a source of sought or a solicitation bid or something that's already been awarded, you don't know how to respond to it. You don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. You don't know what contracting officer strategy is getting at with this thing that you're reading that you have in front of you on your screen. You don't know if they're just looking for market research. You don't know if they're just giving you an FYI, or you don't know if they're very serious and they want to bid and they want it by this particular date. So this helps answer some of your questions. Hey, did I miss this already? Is this old? Is this new? What do they want from me in this response? Should I even waste my time responding to this? These are the questions that we all have once we get registered in Sam.gov and we try to start marketing our company and we start trying to respond to bids. Everything is built off of these 4 stages when you're in beta.sam. So you have to be concrete in your understanding. And luckily, these 4 stages are pretty black and white. They usually do not differ very much at all. And this sequence happens 100% of the time. This is the sequence that opportunities always go through. They don't skip around, You don't have a solicitation and then a source of sought, or you don't have a pre-solicitation and then an award. It just doesn't work that way. You have to follow these different stages. Each is contingent on the previous. So I really want you to feel confident in this understanding in the way that I explained it to you, because it's not going to change, okay? So watch this over multiple times if you have to. Put some questions in the comments of the video if you have them. But now I'm just going to spend a few more minutes. We're going to head over to beta.sam.gov in the real website, and I'm going to show you how to search based on each of these different 4 stages of an opportunity. So let's go. Okay, so let's go ahead and head over to beta.sam.gov now, and we'll talk about those 4 stages that we just went through in the first half of this video. If you're not familiar, beta.sam.gov is the transitioning website from formerly FBO Fed BizOps, and this is where you're going to be able to find all those bid opportunities when you're ready to start bidding on work. So if we go to beta.sam.gov, that brings us to a page just like this, and we'll just toggle down to those contract opportunities. That's primarily where you're going to spend most of your time. And as you see, when you scroll down, we quickly have a list of search results, and that's just because we haven't put any filters on it. And then we have on the left here, we have a side menu of different things that we can search by. Also, if you go to select change filters, there's a bunch of other things you can select, like your place of performance state or location, or even if you're doing research based on the contract office, or previous contract award dollar amounts. There's a lot of different filters here that you can play with. But today we're doing a very simple search, and we're just looking to look at those 4 different stages of a bid. So that is going to be under this type of notice. Bids go through the 4 different stages. And so with that being the case, contracting has to issue these different types of notices, like a source of sought notice, a pre-solicitation notice, a solicitation notice, or an award notice to go along with each of these 4 stages. So this is where you're going to be able to find those. Now, it's not going to be just the 4, and they're not going to be necessarily organized the way that we went through them. And sometimes this throws people off, but don't worry. We can see stage number 1 right here is the source of sought. Then we see a pre-solicitation. Then we see the solicitation. They've also broken it out to combined synopsis solicitation. In FBO, the previous site, these used to be together, but now they've separated them. For our concerns, you would want to select both, for example. If you were looking for bids, don't exclude either one. You want to look at both. And then there is award notice. So those are the 4 stages that we just went through. Source of sought, pre-solicitation, solicitation, and combined synopsis solicitation. Same thing, basically. And then an award notice. 4 different stages, 4 different types of notices. So if you're asking, okay, Derek, well, what are these other things? Well, sometimes I know, sometimes I don't know. They're kind of these miscellaneous type areas that they can tag opportunities if they're not following the typical suit. So intent to bundle requirements could be something that's happening with a requirement that is maybe being merged or bundled with something behind the scenes or something that's already on the market. A justification notice could happen when a contracting officer is awarding to a company as a single source or a sole source where there's not adequate competition. So instead they write a justification saying, we're awarding to this company. This company is the only company that's able to perform this requirement. And these are the reasons why. It's basically a paper trail, and it stops from there being a protest or some other companies complaining, hey, you just gave it to this company. Why didn't you give it to us? Well, here's the justification for why they've done that. The sale of surplus property, honestly, it's never something that I've really seen or come across. I'm sure it has a purpose, but it's just not really affecting the 4 stages that we see every day on the typical opportunities that we're responding to. And I don't think I talked about this special notice. So if there is a special notice, it could just be for a variety of reasons. They could be maybe going from a source of sought straight to award. It's not something that's typical, or they could be changing things, or it could be just like a draft RFP, a draft bid. And they may be doing this because they need feedback on the bid before they actually come out with the formalized formal bid. It's kind of extenuating circumstances. It's a bit miscellaneous. So don't read too much into these special notice, intent to bundle requirements, justification, or sale of surplus property unless it's specifically affecting you and you need to be watching it. If you are looking at an opportunity and you look at the history of the procurement, they're going to show you the different stages that it's going through. So if it happens to be a justification, it's probably being awarded already. Or if there's a special notice, there may be something going on with it that's not typical, but it doesn't necessarily affect you in a big way. It's, again, like it's an FYI, it's good to know. It's not going to be the majority, though, of what you're seeing. Almost everything you're seeing is going to fall into a source of sought, a pre-sale, a solicitation, these 2, or an award. So I'm just going to quickly run the search. I'm trying to explain this to get it into your head. So if we wanted to run searches based on just looking at bids, right? Okay, I only want to look at bids. I don't want to look at source of sought. I don't want to look at pre-sale, and I don't want to look at awards. I only want to look at stuff that I could respond to and potentially win a contract. Well, this is what you would do. You would select solicitation, combined synopsis solicitation. This is stage 3. Then the only other thing that I would encourage that you do is, make sure that it's timely relevant so that it hasn't expired. You can make sure this active only box is checked, but then you also put a time range for the next 30 days or the next 60 days for the response due date. So today is May 17th. So we'll take that out to June 17th. So this is going to show us all the bids for the next 30 days. Click this filter button. So that took us from hundreds of thousands down to 7,238. And if you scroll down, you've got like 724 pages to go through. That's way too much to go through. But just to show you an example, these are all bids. These are all bids that are due within the next 30 days. You could respond to any of these and win a contract, okay? If you wanted to narrow it down, you could add a NAICS code, a PSC code. That's what these filters are for. If you're looking for a particular set aside, like, hey, I'm woman-owned and I only want to look at those woman-owned bids so that I have a better chance at winning or something like that, you can look into the set aside and see there's woman-owned right here. There's this program sole source. That's not what you want. What you want is this woman-owned set aside instead. So, you could select that. And when you run that, it takes it down to 35. So we went from 4,000 some odd opportunities to 35 results. These are all woman-owned set-asides. So it's really not hard, you guys. Here, let me go ahead. I'll just run one more. I'm going to take everything out. Now let's look at sources sought market research. This is where you can market your company. You can help shape the procurement strategy in the future. There's 947 sources sought over the next 30 days. You could respond to any of these with your capability statements and a short white paper, depending on what they're asking for in your response, to help market and shape the requirement for them so that it's mutually beneficial. Might as well just go through them all. If you want to do a pre-solicitation, there's 1,956 of these FYIs saying, okay, this is coming out. And then if you want to just straight up look at awards, here you go. And you get 0, right? And do you know why there's 0? Because we're looking ahead. So if you go ahead and you take these out, because there can't be awards already made in the future. It just doesn't make sense. So once you clear that out, now you see there's 15,402 results. If you wanted to go ahead and look through these award notices, you can see everything is an award notice. It's telling you the awardee, the company it was awarded to. And if you were to click on it and open it up, it would tell you the dollar value that it was awarded for, under what NAICS code, stuff like that. So I don't want to make this video much longer than it has to be. If you enjoy GovCon related videos, that is all I do. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And equally important, if you have questions about the 4 stages of a bid, please put those in the comment section of the video. I do check this, and it's one of the primary ways that I get to interact with you guys. And it's how I learn what it is that you need. That's how I did this video. I learned that you guys don't know the 4 stages of a bid yet. So through that feedback, I was able to create this video, which hopefully helps you immensely and prepares you and gives you the tools to go on beta.sam.gov, check out the contract opportunities, and start intelligently reading and responding to things that are going to be a fit for your company. So that's going to be it for me on this video, you guys. Hit that like button if you like this video, and I will see you in the next one.